turkey hunting updates. So,
Well, gentlemen, we're being conversative. What are you here for?
I'm here to answer any and all questions about schedule on Village Green and to talk about the Essen log cap.
Oh, good. Cool.
And we are live.
We are live. All right, well, welcome everybody to the City of Wildwood Planning and Parks Committee meeting for today, Monday, April 21st, 2025. And I want to just thank the committee for being agreeable to change the date of the meeting so that we can accommodate all the necessary things we were trying to do for scheduling purposes this month. So I'm glad we can get this in, and I will start off with a motion, looking for a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting on Tuesday, March 18th. So we roll call, that would be helpful. Let's do a roll call.
Sounds good. Chair Galani,
Here.
Councilmember Preston,
Here.
Councilmember Mabry,
Here.
Councilmember Dodwell,
here,
Councilmember Ottenberg,
Here.
Councilmember McCutcheon. Here. Councilmember Rambo. Councilmember Krantz.
Here.
Right, we have a quorum.
All right, we're good. All right, now I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the meeting on Tuesday, March 18th, 2025. Councilmember Ottenberg, second by Councilmember Dodwell.
And I found an error in the minutes.
Uh-oh. All right, well.
It's under Rock Hollow Bridge repairs.
Page 4. Number 4.
Number 4.
Oh.
It says a motion was made by Councilmember Rambo, seconded by Councilmember Rambo. Can't be.
Oh, I saw that.
With the chair's permission, we'll review the video and make the change.
Okay.
So it would be a motion to approve as amended.
Let's say that again.
A motion to approve as amended.
All right, we're just gonna do the motion to approve as amended right now. So is it okay with
Yeah.
Councilmember Ottenberg, Councilmember Dodwell to amend the motion? We'll make that amendment, and all in favor of the motion amended, please say aye.
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 I'm gonna have to abstain. I wasn't here, so.
Okay, one abstention. Any noes, nays? Okay, good. All right, we got one abstention from Councilmember Krantz. Okay, do we have any public input from anybody here? You guys are here on a specific thing, okay. Anybody online?
We do have a speaker
We do have a
card
speaker
for
card.
Mr. Dobb if he wants to speak now,
Okay,
or you can wait.
would you like to speak now, or?
I can speak whenever. I was just made aware that we were one of the 3 or 2 low bidders on the Essen log cabin. And Joe and I are working together on the Village Green job, and basically I got told that they are gonna recommend the other contractor who is higher than my number. Once again, that they're gonna recommend him though because of ongoing schedule complications with Village Green, and I guess I just don't understand it. So not only am I here to answer any and all questions on the Village Green schedule that I'm happy to talk over that are outside of our control, and if there are any inside of our control, I own the company and I can change anything and everything that needs to be changed. But I guess I don't understand. So looking at the Essen log cabin, I put in a lot of bidding and a lot of forethought into it and everything, and I was kind of looking at it as an add-on project to the Village Green job that we're currently doing, and we're going way outside of our schedule based upon multiple complications due to plans being redrawn, electric lines being moved, just multiple different things that have changed, and my schedule's been pushed so far that I have a large amount of SWIP recovery and general conditions, and I was kind of looking at this Essen log cabin as something that I was kind of like, well, I do the log cabin, I'll just kind of eat the general conditions and all that stuff. And I'm not trying to say that I'm holding anybody hostage here or anything, but if I'm not gonna do it and it's gonna go to the other contractor, which is fine, it's not my decision to make whatsoever. I gotta work something out with the schedule on the job and figure something out about general conditions and SWIP attributes and everything else. So I guess it kind of leads in from the Essen Log Cabin into the Village Green project, because I keep hearing that there's people upset about the schedule and everything, and I guess I just kind of want to lead into, I'm here to discuss any schedule questions that anybody has here. I'm happy to go over it with you and explain what's going on as far as the project. Yes, sir.
Councilmember Rottenberg?
Would it be appropriate to have the gentleman maybe just give a little bit more detail on some of the challenges that he feels he has run into on the project so far?
Yeah.
I mean, he kind of gave us a brief
Oh,
update.
absolutely. Absolutely. I can come up and speak with you guys. So basically, it's been a difficult project, to say the least. The power was a huge, the electrical was a huge complication on the job, the underground electric. I believe we're still trying to come up with a solution that we're still, Joe, have you had any update from Ameren on the solution idea?
They are working on the switchgear.
They are.
They have a preliminary design. They're still refining that. We hope to have that as soon as possible. When we met and decided to consider the switchgear, representative from Ameren, Missouri said it'd probably be a couple of months. And I provided that in my updates to the city council. But the switchgear, at least as best as we can tell, would be a $40,000 to $50,000 savings on the overall change order. That's about $190,000.
Which is a great idea. I'm not arguing. It's a great idea to try and save money. I live in Wildwood off of Hinkin Road, or not off of Hinkin, I'm sorry. I own property off Hinkin. I live off of Hart Road. I own property off of Hinkin Road. I have lived here for 15 years, I think. I guess I don't understand the whole complications to the schedule for multiple reasons with the whole Essen Log Cabin thing. And so anyway, I'm sorry, I have ADHD really
No,
bad,
it's all
so I
right.
apologize. But so the complication was when we first started doing the project, it was originally planned that our electricians were going to underground the lines and put them to bury all these power lines that are overhead out here. At the last minute, the couple days before the job bid, there was a note sent out from the civil contractor or civil engineer. After he talked it over with Ameren, I guess, and his engineer, that all the bidders should eliminate the electric completely. The undergrounding electric portion of the job completely. So we did that because all the contractors did. So it doesn't matter if you picked me, if you picked Billy Bob Contracting Company, they're all gonna not have it included in their number. That electric running through that entire area of the site, the problem is if you guys want to walk out with me and you drive along the front of this site right here, it looks like nothing's getting done. Because we excavated really fast for everything, which I probably shouldn't have done, but I was doing it to try and help SWIP. So the idea is that if you have that ledge right there along the pavement and everything, then you're eliminating any runoff that could run down and run over that pavement and run out into the street and everything. So that was a on purpose idea by me to make it so that the mud would stay on the site. Then we ran into the problem with the electrical. And we've spent a very long time trying to fix that. Ameren is not exactly a company. It's Ameren, MSD and Spire. You're not gonna tell them what to do. And this is how long it takes to get something done with that. Well, in the meantime, I've tried like heck to get things going on that site. There's times that we have a representative hired. His name is Ken Keitel. He's with TerraSpec and he's working with us. I absolutely can't tell you how beneficial he is to the project. He told me I was insane. There was weeks that, so we had so much weather. It rained so bad that there was no working on this site. Well, for instance, the things that we were trying to do to pick up schedule time was I knew that during January, it was gonna be really frozen in. You guys remember when it was like 2 degrees outside? Okay. Briar here told me I was insane and everybody else did, including Ken Keitel. But every day I was coming up here with a trailer, we were loading up all the equipment and we were bringing it to my shop in Eureka, pulling it into a pole barn, unhooking, leaving it all on the trailer. And then overnight I was running this big giant wood burning heater to keep that entire part of the pole barn up to well above 50. It was about 65 degrees in there at night. And then in the morning, I would start that skid loader up and I'd hook up to that truck and I'd drive at 2 degrees. I'd drive all the way up 109 here with the skid loader running on the, because you can't let that equipment freeze up. If you let it freeze up, you're not working. That's not happening. But I did that every day that week and imported clean rock. And I ended up getting the entire drainage system all up and running, which has, I know that it seems like not that big of a deal, but it's made it so that we've made leaps and bounds of strides on getting the pavers all installed inside the oval area. We're about 2/3 of the way done with the pavers. By the end of this week, we anticipate we'll be about 80% finished up with the pavers. We're doing all the mass install, and then we're going to install all of the outside banding that requires all the cuts on the pavers. The pavers weren't the original option on the plan. They were an additive option that I think personally is an absolute benefit for everybody, but it does affect schedule to do something different. The light poles that are on the job, we've argued back and forth with the landscape architect. How many times, Joe? 4 times? How many times have we moved these light poles? We've moved them 4 times because they just keep moving them all around on the plans. And I keep telling you guys, we can't do this. We can't keep moving. It's like building a house and moving your sinks all around while you're building your house. You just can't keep doing that. And those are the complications that we've dealt with. I do understand once or twice it's been empty out there due to, I have an emergency on another job or something. I'll pull my guys, I'll send them over, have them work for a day to fix up some SWIP on another job or something, but I do have them back. Today, we poured the stairs. Unfortunately, the stairs that we poured, they're fantastic out there. They're not complete because I can't pour any of the lower tier of the stairs whatsoever because we don't know where Ameren's gonna run this electric through this whole area. So I just want to be very upfront with everybody that I am willing to do whatever it takes to get this job done on time, as best to closely on any kind of a schedule as possible. But then going and I guess since I own the company and I started Bombshell, I do take things a little bit too personal, but it is a little bit of a slap in the face when I'm working my butt off to try and get everything done. And then I get told, oh, well, you're behind schedule on this. So we're going to go ahead and give the Essen Log Cabin to somebody else. When I was sitting there thinking to myself, well, this will give me time to go ahead and get this done and get this dirt moved out of here. And then I was working it into my plans, trying to figure out how to make it work out the best. And truly, I'm a little blown away. Like, it's so much easier to use the guys that are on site doing the concrete and doing the masonry block and doing all the work. And then as far as my guys building the log cabin, we have carpenters building them. These are laborers out here building these. There's no overlap that's slowing anything down. You have carpenters doing that. So it's a completely different group of guys that I got right now. They just finished up. It's actually talking about historic things. It's really fantastic. Today is the day that we just finished and opened a 1902 square dancing hall for the city of Union. We literally kept the roof on the building and lifted the roof up and replaced all of the beams that were holding the entire roof up, and then put the roof back down, put all new metal roofing on it, and put a huge square dancing hall floor on, underneath this thing. I'm not big into square dancing, but in the city of Union, they are.
Mm.
I'm gonna tell you something, they are into it.
Mhm.
So, and we actually just finished it right on time. So anyway, I hope in a roundabout way, I kind of answered some of your questions, but I hope that you guys do have more because I wanna, I'm an open book. And I've had nothing but success in all of my projects, and I know that this one is going to be successful and absolutely beautiful. But I need everybody to understand that I'm trying to work with you all on all the complications that we're having on this site. And I'm fine with it. But I need everybody to understand that this stuff isn't bombshell, just being a bunch of contractors not showing up, doing anything. We're clearly trying to work as much as possible out there. If you guys have seen something different, let me know.
Yeah, thank you very much for coming and speaking. I just wanted, on a point of order, we did this under public participation, but in the interest of the fact that it's supposed to be a 5-minute cap per person, obviously we went.
Oh, I went way over.
No,
I talked.
No.
That's
It's not your fault. We told you to do it. But what I was gonna say is, can we just amend the agenda to go straight to the Village Green update, which is what all this will fall under, and then we can have a discussion on that, and then I think that would be more appropriate
that
than keeping it.
motion.
Okay, Councilmember Dodwell, Councilmember Krantz, second. So the motion and the second is to move amend the agenda to bring Village Green up to the top of the topic, so we can then have a discussion with.
But that's in log, isn't it? That's what we're talking about. We got two.
Well,
It's
you
two,
brought up.
it's kind of two items. The Essen log is something, look, if you guys don't feel I'm the right contractor to do it.
I want to ask you some questions about.
Yeah, but we,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
that's gonna
Let's get through
fall.
Village Green first.
The Village Green is, I think, what is encompassing the whole thing, and then we can discuss all of these things under the same deal, right? So,
I have allergies really bad, and this is the first time I'm ever gonna do this. Joe offers me a water every time, but I'm gonna grab a water real quick.
yeah, go ahead.
Hey, got one here for you.
Thank you. Is everybody, okay, so we got a motion on the floor to move
Yeah, that's just.
number 5 Village Green up to number 1.
Mhm.
And then let me see here, I don't see a separate Essen log cabin.
It's down
It's
under
in-
planning
Yeah.
matters.
A little further down.
It's under section B, planning
Yeah, I
matters.
see-
Why?
Item 2.
I don't see,
Section B, item 2.
no, my section B, number 2 says stormwater management.
Oh, you know what?
I can read, I don't see it on here.
Well, it's under.
I
Village
appreciate
Green.
it. I appreciate it.
Stuck here, yeah.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you.
I was like, you're talking about Essen, I'm like, I don't see it on here. And I approved it, but I don't memorize it when I approve it.
Well, Village Green's under, I mean, Essen Long
He doesn't
Cabin
have the
is
right
also under
agenda.
Village Green. There's two separate, I mean, it's in two different places.
Well,
not on my
it's part,
agenda.
it's.
Oh, on my iPad it is.
No, I know, but I'm using the.
I can also tell you
It's
guys,
okay.
You'll get that.
I can also tell you guys
It's-
everything you ever wanna know about pickleball courts too. if you guys wanna.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get back to the motion. We got the motion on the floor and a second to move the Village Green discussion up to number 1. All in favor of the motion, please say aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, so now we're in the Village Green. And before we go into discussion, let me have Director Vunich give his talk on it that he always does in the beginning, and then we'll go into discussion and we can start asking questions and stuff. All right, Director.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair and members of the committee, just so you know, I did send Mr. Dobb a notice about tonight's meeting. I sent the first thing this morning because I think it's only fair that he has a chance to speak to the issues that I think from the Department of Planning and Parks perspective are issues that need to be addressed. Mr. Dobb was enthusiastic about the project. He talked about at one point having it ready for Celebrate Wildwood 2024. Obviously, I'm concerned about Celebrate Wildwood 2025. And so from that perspective, we're working very hard together to get Village Green completed. And then there's the component of Essen Log Cabin. I can probably address both of those at the same time, but I'll honor the agenda as best as possible. So from the department's perspective, Since the site is next door to City Hall, I see it on a regular basis. And since the first of the year, and obviously weather's played a role in that, there has been seldom times when there are more than one or two laborers or employees out at the site. Given the timeframes that are in the contract agreement and what's been promised previously, it's just, again, it's frustrating to see what I consider a lack of progress. Now, saying that, I recognize weather. I recognize the undergrounding of the lines is a major issue, and we have had some problems with the plan sheets. Some of the dimensions, some of the designs just won't work. And as a good general contractor, Bombshell Construction has advised us of that, and we've made those changes. We've been doing it more so in the field of late instead of going back to CDI, human nature, and then working it all around because that takes time. It takes days, if not weeks, to get those plans turned around. And so we've tried to simplify the process as best as possible. However, you have a concert in less than a month, it's not going to be a Village Green. We have a concert in 2 months, probably not going to be a Village Green. I don't know what the schedule is, quite frankly. I get a schedule, it was for a few weeks, but I will tell you on Thursday, Briar, we have a third meeting on Thursdays, not every Thursday, but every other Thursday and occasionally a little longer interval, said that the steps would be poured on Friday. I pull up on Friday. There's nobody there. I contact Briar. He said, well, they need to be tested. We talked on Thursday that SCI is submitting bills for testing. What are they testing if they're not testing that? What are we paying for? So it was a disappointment on Friday, obviously, when I saw nobody at the site. And so from my perspective, the topper was, I went out on Thursday, a young man named Tyler was out there, and I was asking him about the project. And he said, yeah, it'll probably take us another week and a half to finish the oval, and then we'll come back and do the cuts. He said, yeah, we'll be getting pulled off. That's his words, not mine. And so from my perspective, that was the straw that broke the camel's back. Why are you pulling off people? I don't care if Union has a square dance hall. I don't care if you have another project. This is a $2.2 million project. We paid out $1.2 million, if not more. I need the attention here, and anything that draws attention away from Village Green, Essen Log Cabin, I think is unacceptable. And that's my feeling. Bombshell, they'll finish the project, we'll get it done. But quite frankly, any distractions, anything that would pull off anybody, if it's Briar as the project manager, superintendent being over at the Essen Log Cabin, when he should be over here doing something, that's not acceptable to me. It may be acceptable to the committee and city council, that's fine. We'll work within the parameters. But we've reached a point where this is going to affect what we do for the rest of 2025. And my job and my promise to you is we'll have a facility for our events this summer, and that's not the case. So from my perspective, I have to tell the committee that we're not meeting our deadlines. And it's my responsibility to do that. I'll take the blame from all of you, but it's not a sole blame. We hired a contractor and paying him over $2 million. I expect not to hear from the laborer or the paving gentleman that he's getting pulled off site. I don't expect to hear that we're going to be out here tomorrow pouring because the testing's already been done because we're getting billed for it and nothing happens. So that's the rationale. We're behind schedule. There's a lot of reasons for it. But when I look at the site, and this is the final thing I'll say, the undergrounding of the utilities is a big issue. We don't know how it's all going to fit. But if you work from west to east, there's a whole lot of the site that can be built. Flat work, pavers, etc. And so why is it now almost the end of April and we have a concrete oval and 2/3 of the pavers I don't know.
I
So
would love to answer you.
I'm sure they'll give you the opportunity, but I sit here and what I see and what you describe, I think are two opposites right now.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
if there are
let
any
me have-
questions of the department, I'll be glad to try
Let's
to
do
answer.
this. Let's have Bob Shell just answer what Director Vince just said, and then I got Katie first, and then we'll go to discussion.
The reason why there's only a concrete opening. And so, okay, so let's address a couple things. Number one, I agree with you that the stairs should have been poured on Friday. I lost my mind when I found out that the stairs were not being poured on Friday because I had my concrete contractor back out on me. Those stairs are poured today, on Monday. They were not relying on testing, they were relying on a rebar inspection that they should have gotten, and in my opinion, they should have got it a lot quicker. They got it from SCI, but there's some confusion as far as the concrete company was going because they were contacting Cochrane. Because who was the first testing company that we had on the job?
Cochran.
Okay. We stopped using Cochrane because there's an entire area over here by the dumpster pad that we could have already had poured in concrete and everything. And it took over 4 weeks to get an answer on just a simple thing as far as undercutting underneath that area and putting down geogrid and fixing it because it was a soft spot. And I kept saying, listen, these guys are not calling us back. They're not calling us back. I agree with you 100%. You did the right thing. You got rid of Cochrane and you got SCI out here. Ever since we've had SCI out here, we're getting the answers that we need, and we got the undercut is done. It's complete. Today we had SCI out here. They were originally, Cochrane was demanding that we dig test holes in the amphitheater it's ready for concrete. The amphitheater is sat there, it's ready for concrete and has been ready for concrete since we had the problem with the ribbon curb around it that the civil engineer did. They wanted test holes dug. We got with SCI, we got it all worked out, that all they gotta do is compaction tests. The compaction test today did not pass, but you guys gotta understand, the moisture was extremely high. Tomorrow, they're coming back at 9 AM. I anticipate they'll pass. You just gotta let some of the moisture come out of the rock. Unfortunately, Joe, I understand where you're coming from completely. I'm just gonna say two things. Number one, placing blame on the contractor when the engineer has made multiple problems for this job is not fair. And number two, if like Tyler out there speaking to a laborer about me pulling him off the site, I mean, I'm just gonna tell you, every single union worker that you talk to, I'll go out there right now and I'll talk to them and I'll say, hey, what's bothering you? And they'll come up with a million reasons and tell you what's wrong with the world. I mean, yeah, I had to pull them off the site to fix a SWIP problem. I understand completely that you don't care about union and all that other stuff, and I agree with you 100%. I had to get a SWIP problem fixed. I was running short. I had to get him to do it. He did it real quick and he's back now and we're putting the pavers in now. I'm manning up this job tomorrow with, how many guys do we got coming tomorrow?
5 out here.
We're manning it up with 5 guys because now we've gotten to the point where we're coming around with the pavers where we're gonna need the more guys to make all the cuts. Cause before you only need a couple guys to place all the blocks. But when you're making the cuts, you gotta have a whole bunch of skilled artisans here. As far as Essen Log Cabin, if you don't feel that I'm the right guy, whatever. I don't understand how we go, I'm low and we're doing that, fine, it's whatever. I just wanna do a good job for you guys, but I don't think it's fair. But a lot of people can have opinions, and I can tell you what opinions are, they're, you know, the saying. So, like I'm saying, I understand where you're coming from. I understand the frustration. I have you have to understand that when I bid a job that is a $1.9 million job to start with, what you do is you figure in so much overhead into that job and supervision and SWIP time to control everything, okay? If you think that I'm not extremely upset that a job has gone for months and months and months due to things outside of my control, I'm not the one who came up with the electrical issues, the engineer did. I'm not the one that came up with the different patterns of the pavers, the engineers did. I'm not the one that came up with the light locations, the engineers did. I haven't come up with any of the problems to make the delays. I'm eating it bad too. So it's in my best interest to get this job done as insanely fast as possible. What my worry is bringing another group of contractors out here to go do that Essen log cabin in the middle of when we're trying to knock this thing out. That scares me to load it up even more and start to, what do they call that? Blur the lines of who's doing what. And then the other thing is, I mean, sometimes like with the stairs, having them come they say they're gonna come on a Thursday or a Friday and they don't come until Monday. I guarantee you, they weren't planning on coming here today to do that. Just so you understand, I found out about it on Thursday that they weren't coming on Friday, or no, I found out on Friday morning that they weren't coming on Friday morning. I was out of town. My daughter's selecting a college to go to, and I had to go to a college with her. I flew back into town on Sunday. I got here at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The owner of that concrete company, his name is Charlie Vitale, and he lives in South St. Louis. I was on his doorstep by 4 o'clock yesterday. That's what I'm talking about. I was knocking on his door, and he can vouch for it, and he will tell you. I told him that you better have guys there tomorrow. I don't care if there's been a expletive tornado, you're pouring that concrete tomorrow, and it's poured. So every once in a while, as a general contractor, you guys, it's kind of like herding cats, okay? But when it comes to schedule items that are outside of my control, you're saying that you were supposed to have a concert in a month that you can't have. You're 100% correct. Ameren is not gonna have even the drawings to you, according to them, for another month. You're saying that you might not have one in 2 months. I'm gonna tell you that if Ameren gets you those drawings tomorrow, you guys don't know Andy Dobb very well, because I will make sure it happens. I'll get you that concert up and running. That's how I push. That's my number one thing, is being pushy. And this man right here came with us to kind of explain to you just how hard I do push. What did we switch to this morning? I said, I got out here, or I did it on Friday. I said, I'm just done with all this. Everybody's working 10s. So now we're going 10 hours a day out here. Anything and everything that I can do to get ahead of the weather and ahead of everything, I'm 100% all in. As far as schedule goes with weather, we've had a crappy year. It's been a crappy year. My wife sent me a news article, which I still don't know where Cots Creek is, or what the mayor was
Fox
talking.
Creek.
The Cots Creek?
It's called
Fox
Creek.
Creek.
Oh, Hawks Creek.
Yeah,
Yeah.
PAUL.
So it's apparently like taking people's land away.
Mhm.
go down to Clayton and Strecker. It's down there, down in. that
Oh,
valley,
down in
creek.
that,
Yeah.
that's where I get the homegrown tomatoes, that guy. The nursery down there. Yeah, yeah. That's how I know it.
Mhm.
But I mean, I just kind of brought up, I mean, there's news articles being released at how incredibly powerful these rains have been. And like I said before, I knew that this was coming, so that's why I had people, and we can call Ken Keitel and ask him. I had people out here, Tyler was one of them, working in the rain, cutting into the storm sewer line and putting in the drainage field around the pavers just so that we could keep going. guys, if there's anything else I can do, I'll do it. I'll do it 100%. I can't stand, if someone doesn't like Andy Dobb, that's perfectly fine. I have absolutely no problem with that whatsoever. But if someone tells me they don't like a job that Bombshell did, I will lose my mind. It will not, I cannot let that happen. I won't let it.
All right, thank you very much for that. Katie?
Number one, it sounds like we've been talking about Ameren since last fall.
Yes, ma'am.
And so I want to make sure that we're not putting blame on the wrong people here. What can we do as a city to light a fire under Ameren? And is there something that we did to them in the past that is making them wait so friggin' long to give us an answer on our question?
I would, to answer your second question first, actually, they turned around the draft design within a week, which was a complete surprise to me, because they had originally said that it may take a month or more. And so that was real positive,
Did we get that?
probably a week and a half ago or so, 2
Okay.
weeks. And so it's been reviewed. The gentleman at Ameren, Missouri, that's in charge of the project now is still working on some refinements to it. But I think we're going to be ahead of schedule there. But as Mr. Dobb mentioned, Ameren, Missouri is its own entity and they move at a different pace than most.
Okay, so if Ameren, you say we'll be finished with this in a week.
Well, I'm hopeful that it's a couple of weeks, if not less, but I can't guarantee that either.
And that's what's holding up Bombshell at this point.
Well, we need an approved plan from Ameren, Missouri, so Bombshell can have that, then have Reinhold Electric bid it.
Then we have to price it up with our electrician to get the remaining
And
price.
And then you have to purchase, do we
The
have to
thing
purchase
is-
equipment to
Yeah.
install?
Yeah, no, so Ameren provides the equipment, basically, it's so ridiculous how the power company does things. So we have to put the plastic conduit in and then they come in and they pull the wire in. And
Okay.
they wire it all up.
Okay, so that could be another.
So
delay.
to be clear, we did have an approved deal with Ameren, which is the way that they look at it. But we're trying to look for a cost alternative to save the city money.
Mhm.
So we kind of went back to the drawing board, which is, guys, it's, if you can save $40,000 to $50,000, I would say absolutely, as a taxpayer, I would say, yes, let's do that,
Mhm.
absolutely. But that is Ameren's schedule, like they don't just look at it, like, they looked at it like, case closed, here's your answer.
Mhm.
And then we looked at them and say, hey, case not closed, this is crazy expensive. So they actually, which this is very rare for them, out of their own, they sent their people here and they sat with us and they did come up with an alternative suggestion that I think will save some money. So it's not, I don't think that Ameren's doing anything to be facetious. I think it's kind of like the cogs of the Ameren wheels turning. That's just the way that they
Yeah.
move.
So second question is, we have the power lines running right now. We know that's not our long-term goal. What is that precluding from the pavers being finished, the grass being installed, the stairs being finished? Granted, there's going to be some finishing work all along that stretch that'll have to be
Yes.
delayed until the
Absolutely.
poles come down. But what can we do west of where the poles are out to where we're supposed to have a project completed by this summer or this spring or never?
Well, that's my
And so
point.
that's why I'm asking you two guys is,
So currently, the problem is there's all these walls that go, I wish I had a plan with me. I could run out and grab one. Do we have any here? There's all these walls going along these stairways. And ultimately, it started out with everybody trying to save money for the city. Because like I said, these stairs all the way out to the entranceway is one pour. That's one big pour that is supposed to be done in one day. Now, I have to meet with Next Level tomorrow because since we cut it off at the one stair and we're holding back so far, now that's an added $5,000 mow. Right out the gate. They just, well, we have to remobilize everybody out here. We have to redo all this again. It's an added mobilization. So there was people trying to save money by holding back far enough that we weren't trying to cost the city a whole bunch of money in extra mobilizations.
Yeah.
But I do agree with you. To my understanding, I know that it kind of, in the layman's terms, it really sucks because a lot of the stuff that's on the west side is done. There's underground retaining pond that's completely installed and ready to be put online. The oval, as far as we could get it poured, is poured. The amphitheater, like I said, we had a whole lot of problems with some design difficulties there. They're solved now, and we're trying to go ahead and get that poured out. I'm actually trying, now that I got this undercut done up here in my little area that I've tried to keep as my boneyard, I'm gonna go ahead and just pour it. I'm done. I'm just gonna go ahead and pour it out now. I'm gonna get everything and I'm just gonna close it into an envelope right along the area where the electrical is needing to be installed at. The problem is you get to an area where you have walls that you can't install any of the wall, because when you install a wall, you have to put in your base layer all the way along the entire thing. And so you can't do that. I had a cut film map. I had recently performed on the job. Everything from the stairs this way is on grade. The oval's completely on grade and ready for sod. Reinhold's coming this week to put in the power underground conduits and everything in the oval. Cause I'm planning on, I gotta get that oval sodded. I'm just gonna sod it. And then we're trying to work it out with our irrigation guy where we could put in an isolation valve. It'd be one extra isolation valve, but if we did that, we could put the sod in and go ahead and let that get irrigated and watered, because you put sod down, it has to be watered. We can't rely on this rain all the time. But we're gonna go ahead and get that completed, and I'm just kind of looking at it like we're just gonna work our way towards the electrical until we have the answer. And then the minute we have the answer with the electrical, I know it sounds crazy, but you wouldn't believe how fast that area will open up, because it's kind of like,
I've been on,
yes, you
I've been a project
manpower
manager
up
on
for the size
buildings
project of what
before,
you're
so,
doing.
yeah.
And right now, when I tell Next Level, you can do half the stairs, they go, okay, and
But
they
then that
come,
costs them more because they've got to come back. I understand all of
Correct.
that.
right.
Makes complete sense. Okay, that's one question. Joe, you guys talked about Breyer and Breyer getting pulled, and now we've got another company in. Explain that to us as to what happened there.
Breyer is behind you. He's the project superintendent.
Okay,
Tyler is the gentleman that I met out at the
Okay.
west end of the oval who was working on the pavers. And actually
Okay.
Marty Yule was with me from Go Green, because we're going ahead and starting to basically maintain the area around the construction zone. So we're ready to go when the oval's ready to go, so to speak.
okay.
And that's when we asked, how's it going? And he said, well, if we were, as I said, if we were here probably a week, but we keep getting pulled off. That's when it's like, why are you getting pulled off in mine?
Well,
Okay.
because we have monumental rainstorms that are washing
I
out creeks. and
understand,
We
but
gotta fix SWIP problem. So
I understand, but
Mhm.
Is it communication then? Are you two talking?
I brought Ken Keitel on because I can converse.
Okay.
But also we have N38, we have the reserve, we have the mixed use development, we have
I know.
right now
know.
about 100 complaints on every kind of stormwater
I
problem.
don't want to rush this either, you know?
No.
So I guess what I'm saying
Yeah.
is, I brought Ken Keitel on back at the beginning of the year, so they have a contact person
Okay.
that they can call immediately and he can get them an answer.
And they're not communicating with you then?
They are communicating with Ken and Ken communicates with me when he needs to.
Okay,
Those are the decisions he can make without necessarily me providing input.
but it seems like you don't get updated like you should. Is that what you're,
I wouldn't necessarily say that. It's just, it's an ongoing issue of, we've asked for construction schedules.
okay,
I got one recently. It was for a few weeks. You know, most projects, they give out a construction schedule and update it occasionally, but all I'm saying is, from the perspective of the department is, there's a whole lot of work that can be done out there. And I want it done.
okay.
And I think that's a simple request of the general contractor who made
Yeah.
promises to all of you when you decided that he would be the contractor for the project.
I don't disagree with that. I just want to make sure we're all understanding where we have some communication
So
issues.
to,
And so I think I'm gonna recommend at this point, you two get together and put together a timeline based on what your goals are. But then it has to be dealt with in reality terms because weather will impact things.
Yes.
And
Here's-
he's got to get together with, here's what I can do before we can get the power implemented.
that's
And if
our
both
biggest
of them
problem
go-
is the schedule. I can't provide a good schedule without knowing which option we're gonna take for power.
Switchgear.
Yeah, switchgear, I thought.
So
Switchgear.
we're definitely gonna go with switchgear.
Yeah,
We voted on that last month.
yeah.
I thought-
And that's where we've been working from since the meeting with Sean from Ameren, Missouri.
Once I see the plans showing me exactly how that's gonna go,
I don't have those yet.
I can provide all the schedules everybody could ever want.
I don't have those. I'm waiting on
Get it.
Ameren, Missouri.
So
That's,
we're waiting on Ameren then.
And again, I think they are working at a breakneck speed relative to Ameren, Missouri. Factor in the tornado on beginning of March. I mean, I'm sure that they've been pulled every which way other than a Village Green versus
Well,
getting power
Their
back.
design folks don't necessarily have to jump and run when
I
the
understand.
power gets blown over.
Is there is there a way that we can have like because this is, maybe for future reference and we're gonna do a project this big, I think would be helpful because we've got the council, we've got the committee, we've got general contractor, we've got Ameren, we've got all these moving parts, and of course, we had the curveball with the underground versus the overhead that came out of left field, and then we had to deal with that. Like, almost like a flow chart that kind of lets us be able that we can maintain in real time, right? That whether it's a living document on the website or, which I think would be important because residents can look at it too, but that would show like, hey, these are the different components that are remaining to be done, and these are triggers, so somebody can go on there, like I could go on there and look and see, okay, well, Ameren's gotta do this in order for Bombshell to trigger this, and this is a timeline that this and this is gonna take, and I'm just saying from a project management perspective, because right now I feel like we're all just sitting here and there's, everyone's pointing in different directions, so like they should be doing this, he should be doing this, and meanwhile, it's not like we just have the city and one contractor involved. We've got Ameren, we've got all these different companies and all these different things. So, and I'm just speaking from a layperson that has no background in construction or building things or managing these kinds of projects. Just from listening to all of this go on, for me, I'm a visual person. If I could kind of see that, and therefore I know if like the schedule's been delayed here, well, this thing changed over here, which created a stop, and we're waiting for X to be completed here, which opens the door for this to then become part. In the meantime, we can
Who's
go
the
around.
project manager on this
So
project?
anyway, Councilmember Rambo?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I got in here late. I spaced on the meeting time, but yeah, what you're describing, Mike, is exactly what every sizable project in my world has always had. You have a project manager and you figure out the critical path and what the slack is and how you can move that around given weather conditions or just whatever the parameters happen to be if you're building a computer room versus a park. And you can kick out a Gantt chart, a PERT chart, visual things that would help you just look at it and say, okay, here's the timeline, here's some slack, this is the critical path, but they can be working on all these ancillary issues, while if they get hung up on the critical path. And so, it's the question that Katie was trying to ask, a second ago was, who's the project manager and why don't we have these documents? Because we should already have them, in my opinion. That's just my opinion, and
I
I've
have a
done this.
project manager. It is Breyer. We have supplied Gantt charts in the past. Completely, I cannot supply a Gantt chart with a 50-foot wide line of easement running through the project, telling me that I can't do anything in this area until we get this all from Ameren.
So you're back on the point, and I understand,
Yes.
I agree, you have a problem. But you're contending that we would have had all that stuff and you do have it, it's just useless for now because of the problem with the.
Yeah, until then, we're trying to give 3-week look aheads to say what we're doing on the west side.
Sure.
Which is it's kind of a Gantt chart. It's a little bit more rudimentary, but at least it's kind of saying this is what we're working on until we get this answer from Ameren on how we're going to handle this whole area through here. So
You would have that for everything except for the, that 50-foot strip? I mean, because you. can
well,
still plan a
I was
whole lot
just
of
saying a
stuff.
50-foot, I don't know how wide the strip is.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
That's
okay.
That's what we're providing. We're trying to provide 3-week look aheads as best we can with weather and Ameren. It's been a very difficult task to do, right?
Okay,
As
that's the
of late.
visual that we're looking for, though.
But yes, you are correct. It's a Gantt chart, and that's what you're
Yeah.
looking at.
Councilman Rodberg?
You mentioned Reinhold coming out to do some work.
Yep.
shortly, correct?
Yes.
What are they going to be doing?
They're trenching in the electrical and connecting up all the, so we have all the light poles poured in the oval area where we're replacing the pavers. And they have to go inside of that oval and put all the conduit in and then run it outside the oval and get it all ready to go so that they can run the power to all those light poles in that area.
So when we talk about the switch gear that's going to be used on this project, how are you going to connect up to that? Who's gonna make
That's
that connection?
Ryan will eventually, but then you're running out of that oval, you're running down along the stairs.
Right,
You're running over to where the switch gear is going to be that I don't know where it is, so I can't go any further outside the oval.
and with the switch gear, unless they know the design of the switch gear and the dimensions of the switch gear, they don't know where to put the piping and so
That's
on
correct.
in order to properly connect up to the switch
That's
gear.
correct.
I was involved in electrical construction for
Yeah.
about 40 years, so.
Yeah.
We can install
Common problem.
the irrigation inside the oval. We can install the electrical inside the oval and do what? The rough in conduits and everything, and then we're going around and I have my surveyor coming out. I'm trying to figure out where else I can maybe get some light pole standards done that's not gonna be affected by anything going through there that we could still connect up. That's the extent of where I can go with all the electric.
Mr. Ottenberg, what I will tell you is the switchgear and the duct bank connection are generally in the same location, Main Street and Market Avenue. So we're not moving the switchgear down the street, across the access drive on the City Hall. It's still at the end of Main Street. And so, as I say, from the perspective of the department, if we're in the general area, we can get conduit near it if it's not moving to a radically different place.
Councilmember Cutchin?
Yeah, so you're working on the west side, even though it looks like nothing has been done in the main section? Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes,
Okay, my son's a contractor,
yes.
and everything I hear you say, I've heard him say. Because all these parts have to fit together. And if this guy over here doesn't do his job, then this whole thing gets thrown all off. So I understand that. I also understand that you made a promise, and you think you made a promise. I didn't know you made one, but if you say that, I believe it. But we're spending a lot of money on this, and I understand why you're frustrated. I understand why you're frustrated. So, I mean, how? I don't know how to phrase this. Yeah, you made a promise, you think it's important that we have our concert, our first concert in the Village Green, okay? But as a constituent, I would say, let's get it done correctly. We've had our concerts elsewhere. And given all of this, we could have our concert, our first or second one somewhere else. I don't think anybody will be upset as long as we have the concerts. It seems like this is causing a lot of stress on especially the two of you. And maybe if we widen our time frame a little bit, even though you don't want to, it would be nice to have it all done. But it's not gonna be all done, let's face it. So let's kind of move things around a little bit. Go ahead and have our concerts, we've always had them. Is it imperative that the Essen Log Cabin be placed before we open the rest of the Village Green? I mean, what importance is that the residents are gonna complain about if that cabin's not up there when we get the rest of the Village Green done? I totally understand where you're coming from. I totally understand why you're frustrated, because I would be frustrated if I were in your place. But, let's be, I don't know, let's be a little bit more fluid and do, some creative things so that this gets done the way you think it should be done and it be done correctly, because we are spending a lot of money on this. But does it all have to be totally complete as long as it's safe and we can use part of it at a time? I mean, I don't understand why we can't have our concerts where we've always had them until this gets finished. And honestly, I don't know that the residents know you've made a promise. I really don't. I know you did and you feel like it and you're responsible. I get that, Joe. You do a super job.
Take a look out there.
Yeah, well, I haven't been over there, granted, okay? But I mean, what I'm trying to say is, can we do some kind of compromise here that,
I hope you,
Mr. Dive, you're gonna have, in my opinion, you have to step up your guys. And I
Oh, yeah.
understand
absolutely.
the rain and all of that. So I don't know. I think maybe we should, I don't know if you already talked to the other contractor for the Essen House. Is that already in place?
No, had a meeting today and I asked him some questions because I am concerned too about having two separate contractors working at the same site for all intents and purposes. There are some problems with that. I wanted to get the impression of the other bidder that was a workable solution or not. I guess, Ms. McCutcheon, what you're telling me is don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Basically, it's like, let's get the project done. Let's get it done according to plan and have a quality product. Maybe rushing it isn't the solution.
Exactly, exactly.
Councilmember Crayons?
Mr. Dobb,
Yes, sir.
when do you think you're gonna be done with the project?
Realistically, I think we're looking at, if, let's say Ameren comes in tomorrow and says here, or let's say that Ameren takes one more month, okay? I think we'll be done into July.
And I think this is what Joe's looking for too, some
I
certainty.
want to be clear that I'm not trying to cut you off in any way, but I want to be clear about a couple things here.
Okay.
I am not being argumentative towards Joe about this project.
Oh,
I understand the frustration. The situation that he has been put in with the plans, I have tried everything I can. I hope you feel that I've tried everything I can to 100% help out in any way that we can help out.
I understand that.
And I'm not frustrated with Joe. I'm frustrated with the situation, but this
But
is
we're
construction.
a little frustrated with you, I guess.
I get it.
And that concerns me a little bit, but I think you can just stay with it and go as.
Oh, we will.
Not as quickly, but we want a quality job, which I know you can do. But Joe's our man we go to, and when he sees nobody out there working, that adds stress, not to only him, but we feel the same stress too, because we'd like to see it done. And I'm realistic about it with the weather, and that just goes with it. As long as he gets a good idea of when you think you're gonna get it done, that helps everybody, and we appreciate you, so I don't think we just wanna.
No, I don't I don't, my
Yeah.
main reason for coming here tonight is to answer any of your questions that you
Okay.
guys might have about the project. And hopefully translate that the dirty contractor's not always the villain. We're not always the bad guy.
You're at the mercy of a lot of people.
We are at the mercy of a lot of people, and I'm not saying that I'm a perfect person and that Bombshell's a perfect company, but I'm not. And as far as having stress and everything, that's my life. I'm a contractor. I'm fine with it. But I'm voicing my frustration about this whole bringing another contractor onto the site when we're already got all this stuff going on.
But that, you know, that's a separate issue. We're not sure we're gonna do that yet. We're gonna
Yeah.
discuss
Right.
that's, nothing's been decided on that yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I-
that's totally
Thank you
different,
for
you know,
sharing your.
don't feel left out, you know?
Yeah, and then as far as the schedule goes and all this stuff, ma'am, I'm sorry, I don't know your name, but you said man up and get your guys. Literally tomorrow, I got 5 guys coming out to start working on the,
Well, I didn't mean you weren't. What I meant was, let's see how many people we can get out there and how much can we get done.
no, I agree with you.
You know,
100%. I'm
maybe-
saying I agree with you. So
Maybe
that's
it
what I'm
would be
doing.
a good thing for you guys to sit down and Joe would say, okay, within 2 weeks, this is what I expect.
With all due respect, I think that Joe's extremely busy and I think Ken Keitel's doing it. You guys are paying him to do a good job and I think
Yeah.
he's absolutely
He
wonderful.
is.
And I think that the line of communication as far as it goes with me and Ken is phenomenal. I love the guy. I was gonna suggest to you guys that maybe it's a good idea to maybe look at him as maybe some sort of an outside construction manager to help Joe out when things start getting really overloaded. I think I can't say enough good things about that guy. I love Ken. He's a great guy.
Yes.
I want you guys to all understand that I will make sure that this job follows through properly. And that, I don't have frustrations with all you guys. I just want you guys to understand that if you have frustrations, it's okay to yell at me some. I'm good with it. It happens all the time. I'm a
You look like
contractor.
you can take
We
it.
don't.
I can handle it.
We're not gonna yell at you.
I can handle it just fine. And then as far as I said, but the only other reason that I'm here is the Essen log cabin thing. I have a concern about that, but like you
You
said.
get yelled at all the time, being on the council.
Maybe I ought to be a council. I live in Wild, maybe I ought to be a councilman.
Well, there you go.
There you go.
We get
Be
paid.
careful what you wish for. Councilmember Mabry?
It'll just be piling on. Thanks for thinking.
Okay, Councilmember Roddenberry.
Just a real quick question. If we are getting delayed at all due to Ameren, we just gave a number of people from Ameren a special recognition
Yep.
at the last city council meeting, and I know Mayor Garitano has some good relationships there. The people he has relationships with may be totally different from the people that might possibly get involved with our project here, but maybe he can call in a favor and somebody can talk to somebody else to just help speed things along.
I think Tom's been working on that angle.
All right, well, then I'm probably taking the words right out of the city administrator's office.
back.
Hey,
We have been doing that. And that's actually kind of what got the ball rolling on the first place about getting a reinvigorated effort to get a new design out there. So I can give him another call, but we do have a close relationship with Ameren.
We thought of that almost immediately.
Okay, perfect.
I didn't, but Tom did.
So just to clarify, we've had good discussion here. Thank you very much for coming.
Yes.
Absolutely. I'll have to come every month if you guys like to talk it over. I love to talk.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great and I think you're obviously passionate and dedicated and run a company and it's great to hear from you and see you here caring about it. Obviously,
Yeah.
because a lot of people wouldn't after hours to talk to us, so I appreciate that. And yeah, I think with a lot of moving parts going on and obviously with these projects, coming from the housing side of the business, I mean, whenever there's custom homes being built, they never, ever, ever, ever finish when they're supposed to. It's just part of the thing, because there's too many moving parts going on in there and it's just, we got weather that's uncontrollable. There's so many variables. So I think obviously schedules are set from the front end to try to create a guiding principle to work towards, but rarely if ever. I mean, we're seeing that with the charter internet thing. I mean, we had that laid out and all the guarantees in the world and we're years out from what they told us up front, right? So, and they're just one company we're dealing with versus having all these different players involved. So I just think we have to, my 2 cents on it is we just have to have a little bit, I agree with what Councilmember McCutcheon said. We want to get it done. We want to get it done yesterday, but at the same time, we're already pot committed at this point. We're building this thing. It's going to be the jewel of the city. If it takes an extra few months to make sure it gets done right and we don't miss out on anything or cut any corners or lose out on any of the value that's going to be there at the end, I think that's worth it. And, if we got to have a few of the concerts over here in the field. And Joe, I know you, once again, it's been brought up already, you work very hard, you care so much, so I know that the frustration boils up even more because you do care so much and you do a good job, so we see that, we understand that, and I think it's just, somebody said it earlier, just keep the communication going and just, everybody's on the same team, everybody's trying to get to the same end game here, and I think we've got the right people involved. I don't feel like there's personally that anybody that's involved in this is the wrong fit. So I think it's a matter of just keep pushing. Councilman Rottenberg?
I was just gonna tag on to what you said, Chair, about communications. It's been my experience throughout the years that whenever there's misunderstanding on a particular project, that it's usually due to poor communication. Now, poor communication may not be intentional because everybody's busy. Everybody's got 1,000 things on their plate, but I guess I would just encourage everybody to keep the communication strong, keep it frequent, keep it going on both parties.
And again, with Mr. Keitel on board now, Breyer and Mr. Dobb have a telephone number they can call pretty much any time during the day and he generally responds. If he doesn't, he certainly gets back to him as quickly as he can.
And then, so that was the purpose of the Village Green piece was related
Just
to
have
just an update. So I think we've,
Just one more item on
Yeah.
that. I kind of touched upon it very briefly, but I met with Go Green, who is our park maintenance contractor. So we're gonna start finish cutting almost all of the turf areas that have been kind of left alone due to the construction project. We're also going to start taking down some of the construction fencing and silt control that isn't necessary because there's ground cover established. So we're trying to push the envelope as best we can to get the rest of the site in an orderly manner. Thursday, I asked Breyer to kind of take a housekeeping of his site. We've got some buckets of material, things along those lines strewn along Crestview Drive. Gotten a couple of calls from residents over there just about how it looks. From their perspective, it's over a year now since we took down the trees. Kind of wondering when it's all gonna kind of come to a close. So there's a cleanup underway, which should help things as well. And that'll include getting prep for phase 2 in that regard.
yeah, Councilmember Godwell?
I just had one other question. This is a big area. We have residents that live around it. We also have a lot of activity here in town center. And once summer breaks, there's kids that are gonna be riding bikes and looking for things to do, and boys will be boys and that kind of stuff. Are we gonna be putting any fencing around the construction areas in order to ensure that things don't get stolen or
We-
things get damaged?
We currently have some construction fence up. If there's something that we need, we have temporary fence panels. We got,
Just speak on that. We're taking down that fence now,
Mm-hmm,
so your guys' contractor can mow that.
okay.
Now, I totally fine with running fence along the front right here.
Mm-hmm.
But
maybe
that
putting
being
some
said,
signs up
we're
saying,
taking everything down around back. Now, we're super safe. All the nail pins that are out there, they're all capped with special caps from OSHA. So
Okay,
the site's safe if somebody was to wander on there.
okay.
yeah, but still.
Our
but-
police station is right over here, so you can.
The
always
anticipation
look at
is that
it.
before they get out of school, we're gonna have a lot of it poured.
Yeah.
A lot of it closed in. Have the sod down, have the area poured. That's my anticipation.
My biggest fear is flat work with kids.
Yeah.
They love to see their footprints or initials.
They do, they love
Oh,
it.
yeah.
I know I do.
First, get that in place.
Well, that's why I'm trying to close in all the areas that I can close in, Joe. But yeah, I agree with you.
I just kind of wanted to make sure. we could-
Okay, cool. All right, we good on that? And then what I was gonna say, since
Thank
Mr.
you.
Well, since Mr. Dobbs here and he had come to speak and be a part of the Esson Log Cabin conversation, I would like to make a proposal that we go ahead and move that up to number 2 on the agenda. And so we can have that conversation while he's still here. So he doesn't have to wait for the rest of the meeting. So can I get a motion for that? Councilman Rottenberg, second by Councilmember Dodwell. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, so let's go into the Esson Log Cabin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, members of the committee, as has been discussed in a roundabout way relative to Village Green, there is the Esson Log Cabin Reconstruction Project. This committee authorized via recommendation to proceed forward with bidding at the completion of the architectural drawing. The bidding began at the end of last year and closed in January of this year. We received 4 bids. 2 of the bids created immediate concerns. One from the fact that it was so low that none of the estimates over the last 10 years have been close to that amount, meaning that it just didn't seem to accurately reflect the design and engineered components of the cabin reassembly that were on the set of plans that were used for bidding purposes. On the opposite end, one came in at $500,000 almost, which meant another $280,000 toward the project, which obviously at this point, we just don't have. So that left the 2 middle bids, one of which was Bombshell Construction and the other being Charette Contracting. The department has worked with Bombshell Construction and knows the individuals well, and obviously you as well, based upon our previous discussions, both, at the time of the Village Green Phase 1 and now tonight. The department in its report does not criticize Bombshell Construction relative to the construction quality or capabilities. It, in the report, just simply says, there's a lot to do with Village Green Phase 1, and that any distraction, whether it's an additional project here or elsewhere, is just a distraction that would be unacceptable to the department. Charette Contracting has done other log cabins. It's in their wheelhouse. Discussion today, they've done most of their work in the Herman, Missouri area. And they reference 5 different cabin reassemblies or constructions that they've worked upon. From that perspective, there's a greater level of experience than what Bombshell Construction has. And the bid difference is less than $5,000. So in a kind of different light, we talked about Village Green Phase 1, it was almost $20,000 in difference. This is a less than $5,000. But just pulling that thread as tight as possible, it's just all about not distracting, not creating a potential problem by having another project. We're still not finished with the first. And that is why the department prepared a report with recommendation for the other bidder, the higher bidder, but again, within the range of approximately $5,000. With that, I'll close, and if there are any questions or comments, certainly I'll be glad to answer them. And to Ms. McCutcheon, I'll conclude with just a response. We've had the Esson Log Cabin, the logs in the disassembled fashion for about 10 years, since they were stolen, taken to Winsville, recovered, and then basically stored. Does it all have to happen overnight? Certainly not. 10 years. There is some momentum caused by the Esson family and our Historic Preservation Commission to move this forward, potentially have it available for our 30th anniversary. That's been driving the discussion more so than I will tell you tonight if it were to be delayed a month or two or maybe even longer. The project's still funded, partially funded for 2025. We talked about allocating funds from other projects to cover the gap so we can meet the requirements of the two middle bidders. But again, if you feel we're pressing the issue too much, I certainly understand. But we have two viable bids. Again, and the primary difference between the two to the department is we need to get the first project done. Thank you.
Councilmember Rambo?
Yeah, your paperwork is comprehensive as usual. I'm confident you did the diligence on prior projects by Charette Construction. Herman's a great area for them to be doing these kinds of things. The cost difference is meaningless and the expertise is quite likely similar to Bombshell, but Bombshell has its plate full from Wildwood's perspective right now, and the added experience of several similar projects sort of really tilts the decision to in Charette's way. And so whenever the discussion is done, I'm ready to make a motion that we proceed with Charette. But the question then becomes, how hard are we going to push on it? Because you're alluding to the reality that it's costly, it's more costly than we intended. And we've got budget constraints and we have to worry about that. And is it appropriate to choose a contractor before, if we're not even going to spend the money? So it seems to me that maybe the discussion has to be, are we going to do it this summer because we got a rough cost, or are we going to kick it to next summer? Is that a reasonable way to look at this or no?
Well, it's certainly a reasonable way to look at it, but we have a bid, so it's not a rough cost.
Yeah,
It's a bid.
right. Oh, okay, so it's a solid, yeah. And
Yes, we went
anything would be a
through-
change order.
Anything that would change that number would be a change order that would be submitted to the
Sure, I
committee
misspoke.
as we do.
Mm.
The larger question I'd have to defer to Tom. He's the one that struggles with the budget day in and day out more so than, let's say, Rick or I. We have our struggles, but Tom has to basically corral all of them.
Thank you, Mr. Brunish. With your permission, Chair.
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Sorry. Yeah.
So these funds were encumbered in 2024, which we're fine in that regard. That said, this year we are running tight. So end of the day, I mean, it is worth the discussion to discuss here. I mean, there's two things to look at. We have quite a few projects that are going out the door right now, especially trying to wrap up the Village Green. Adding this could add additional stresses onto staff, but obviously we do have tools at our disposal, like a Mr. Keitel, to assist with those different projects. But the other question is we've got a lot of road projects that are going on this year too. So there's just a lot going on. But if we were to wait, I can almost guarantee you those prices are going to skyrocket. We're going to see a very drastic increase next year too. So it was budgeted. I can find it. That said, we already have cut a couple projects to push back into 2026 due to the increased cost that we had for the Route 100 left turns and J turns projects. So it is tight, but I think we could cover the spread is the bottom line if the council wishes to proceed this year.
Good, okay.
Okay.
Well, I vote.
Councilmember Mabry?
Yes, I want to be very mindful, respectful of the commission, the council members' statement that he wanted to make a motion after his question, so to me.
I just said that I'm prepared to make the motion if nobody else does.
Oh, well, I'll make a motion.
Oh, we're just
That
talking
then
about it.
would be to, sorry?
We're talking about
If
it.
you want to make a motion, we can have a motion and all that, then
We'll go.
discussion, or we can have discussion.
I always thought a motion had to come first. It's just something that.
No, we're just having discussion right now.
Okay, I'd like to motion that we postpone the decision on this until, not tonight, that we don't make a decision. I'm glad to hear there are so many contractors in the room. I didn't know they were so contractor rich. My creed for my whole career was you accept lowest responsive bidder. To my mind, all four bidders were responsive bidders. We have an obligation to be mindful of that old credo. In addition to that, I imagine, do I need a second or can I keep going?
What's that?
Can I keep talking? or do
Well,
I
you gotta
need
make a
second?
motion. We need a second,
The
and
second
then we
would
can
be,
have discussion and come back.
second is that
So would
we,
somebody like to second the motion that he just made?
What is the
that
motion?
we not decide this evening,
Well, that means we need to
Postponement.
delay it to a particular time.
I'll second
next
it.
meeting.
All right, we got a second on the
We can,
motion
we can
to postpone this
decision,
vote to next meeting.
yes,
Okay,
we postpone
to
any
May.
action.
We
until
got a
May.
second on the motion from
second.
Councilmember Crans. All right, now we're in discussion on the motion, so
Thank
now
you.
you can say what you like.
Yeah, keep it smart, because I hope everybody's thinking about the same. We've heard about allotted budgeting, running a tight tack right now with all the actions we're going on. We have a decision between a responsive bidder and a responsive bidder. And it's a decision whether to make the decision between a low responsive bidder and another one who's not. And with respect to experience or qualifications, when you're responsive, it's beyond that. It's no longer whether you're qualified or experienced, it's whether you're responsive. And in order to have invited the contractor in the first place, they would have had to have been deemed to have been responsive if they provided a responsive bid, they met that obligation. So that's really the only reason why I started off saying this is not a decision for tonight. It's for more deliberation.
Okay, actually I had, sorry, Scott's next.
Thank you.
And then I
Well,
got you.
I just had a question. We're talking about, I think, two different types of projects here, because the project at Village Green right now is basically involving a lot of what I would call general laborers, is that the proper term?
Yep.
You know, involved with concrete type work and so on, whereas the work at the log cabin, that's more carpentry
It is.
type work. So it doesn't appear to me, unless I'm missing something, that there would be a danger of people from the Village Green project being pulled off to work over on the log cabin, because it's two separate projects and
can't
two
happen.
types of workers.
It can't happen. It's
Okay.
union rules.
Okay.
Don't allow you.
Carpenters work on carpentry, laborers work on labor. So we have I don't need to go on a sales pitch about Bombshell. I'm proud of my company but I will tell you that we are signatory to the carpenters union. I am a journeyman carpenter. He is a journeyman carpenter. The two carpenters that I had that I was gonna really have lead the Essen Log Cabin, they've built multiple log cabins in Branson, Missouri. They've helped out with Bass Pro Shop log cabins that were built and on the top of the rock area down in that area. So as far as that goes, it's complete separate
Yeah.
work operations. But I'm sorry, I don't mean to.
No, that's all
No,
right.
no, thank you.
That's what I suspected. I just wanted to get confirmation of that.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
My concern wasn't with carpenters doing laborers' work or laborers being carpenters. My concern is how many Briars are there and how many Andys? The leadership that basically manages the project on their end is what I'm concerned about. And I need their attention on Village Green Phase 1.
Hold on. All right. Okay, so so Scott, you just went, so now we got Jim.
I think it's a lot of money. I wish we could find another log cabin that somebody would donate. $300,000, you could probably do a replica. It's a lot of money right now, as Tom indicated. I like to just pause it for now and wait until our Village Green is completed. And then take another look at it, and if it gets to the point where we can't afford it, it is what it is at this point. But we're talking $300 and some thousand to reconstruct I guess it's a partial cabin now, right? You don't have all the pieces, you don't have the windows, you may have the door, there's no floor in it. I think it was completely damaged when this guy tore it apart. So it's sad, it's very, very sad what happened here. But when I see $300,000 and budgets are tight right now, it just falls low on the priority list for me. And I'm only speaking of myself. And I love this cabin, you know, and it's just, it's not working right now for me.
Got it. I got Deb next.
Yeah, so we are tight with our budget. And we're gonna take 3 projects that have on strategic plan, who have already been passed by council, who are in the budget. Essen Log Cabin is not one of our is not in our strategic plan. And I mean, can we find the money somewhere else other than pulling these projects?
Fundraiser.
Well, that's where I was going. We could do a fundraiser. We could have businesses donate. We could have maybe the historic preservation donate, or they may know somebody who's willing to donate to put that cabin together. I mean, there's probably some projects that we had budgeted to complete this year that aren't gonna be complete, so why can't we pull that funding over if we're gonna do the cabin? But again, I mean, it's a tight budget year. I understand that then, you know, the cost of the construction and maybe if we need additional parts, it's gonna cost money. It probably will go up. But can't we look at another way of funding this, make this more a community effort than just a city council coming up with the funds and moving projects that have already been approved? You know, I'd really like to put it off, look for other money, make it a community project, you know, try to get people to donate it to it. And then if they only donate $150,000, well, we got $150,000, that's half of it. And I mean, our citizens are, you know, willing, a lot of them, to make donations. You know, that'd be great for the businesses to make donations. And I know all their money's tight. I've got that. But if we could put forth a community effort, you know, to maybe get some of the money at least. And then, you know, we've always talked about, okay, you know, project A, we've budgeted it for this year, but it's not going to be completed. We know it's not. So can we use some of that money and then, you know, shove it off to the next year, the rest of that project, and put it in that budget? So it is a lot of money, and again, what I say, it's not absolutely necessary for our village green. It would be nice, but it's not necessary. And yes, we have a bid. My other question is, so how long is that bid good for?
Well, I asked that question today. Typically, it is in the bid documents, 60 days. The gentleman from Charette Creek said that they would honor the bid until a decision is made.
It is a lot of money.
Yeah, Tom said that we have the money and he's the budget guy. And so I'm inclined to give deference to Tom's opinion, because this cost it might be 50% more costly next year to do the same thing. And I sort of disagree that this doesn't make or break the park. I think this is a key feature of our new park, because otherwise it's just a circle until we get the bandstand and stuff up. There's nothing really else for, you know, nothing to look at, no attractions, no anything else. And so if we went down the replica road, yeah, we could build it more cheaply, but then we don't need a cabin. We might as well do some other feature like pay for the dang bandstand or something like that. And so the expertise that these Charette folks have is with old construction. And I have a feeling, I don't know this for a fact, but the Bombshell folks, they're probably great at taking Gastineau or some other log company from the Ozarks and putting those beautiful oak logs together into a beautiful structure, but it's not the same thing as this reconstruction. We spent a lot of time in the Historic Preservation Commission talking about, you know, the proper materials and so on and so forth. And we paid all this money for these consultants to give us the plans and so forth. We have a firm bid. There might be a couple little change orders, but I don't think it's going to change as much as you think it is, Deb. I don't know that. I can't say that it might skyrocket, but I'm just saying, I think I can alleviate some of your concern. Joe may have a different opinion, but I think, you know, if it's a firm bid, it's a pretty firm bid. And so, the idea of letting it go, we might as well just decide not to do the dang thing at all, because it's gonna be 500,000 next year, this time, so.
All right, I got Chris.
I'll pass.
Okay, then I got Deb.
Yeah, so, what I was just talking about a minute ago about moving things from projects or doing a donation community event. How does that fit in with the budget? I mean, can we still go ahead? How can we, is there a possibility with the budget that we can go ahead and do the three things that are wanting to be pulled and still do the cabin? And it, without using the funding for the three projects that are listed as being pulled?
Yes, so thank you, Ms. McCutcheon, with your permission, Chair.
Yes.
So where I was looking at to fill in this gap, we do have $200,000 appropriated in 2025 to cover the cost of pretty much right-of-way land dedication acquisition on the north side of Crestview, considering that the North 38 development and that 40-foot dedication is no longer there. That does pretty much raise the argument that we most likely will not be utilizing that $200,000 to acquire that right-of-way on the north side. That does give us a little breathing room. That said, the budget is extremely tight, so that would be where it would be taken from. But I would turn to Mr. Boonish to see if it's feasible to pull together some type of fundraising event, how much time that would be needed for something like that to help offset. But right now, capital is very tight with all the construction projects that are going out the door.
Just one thing on the capital improvement program as well. There's the proverbial elephant in the room. We still have to bid out BA Route 109 roundabout. We're still waiting for the final approvals to do that based upon most of the bids we've received. I have an expectation it's going to be higher than we anticipate. So I'm conscious of that. Tom mentioned using Crestview Drive funding. I identified Portner Park property acquisitions in our sound mitigation pilot program. Those are projects that are under the Department of Planning and Parks. Didn't feel comfortable going over to Public Works to start using their money. So that's a decision for Tom and City Council. But as I say, there's still, maybe that 30 days will give us a better idea of what Route 109 roundabout's going to cost. And if we need additional funds, certainly that's a decision you'll all need to make.
Councilman Rottenberg.
Yeah, I guess just sort of a general comment here. With several projects, when we talk about delaying them, we talk about the fact that next year they're going to cost more than they do this year, and that is of course true. We're already taking a look at the pickleball courts, which originally were supposed to be $500,000. Now they're going to come in at $587,000. I know in previous conversations with Director Voonish talking about the roundabout at BA and 109, we're expecting that to come in much higher than we originally projected. That is a public safety issue. As much as I like the idea of having the Essen log cabin over here next to Village Green, I just personally don't see that as an immediate priority. Considering all the pressures that we've got on the budget at this point in time. I tend to agree with Councilmember Mabry in terms of delaying the decision to next month, but I think I agree with Councilmember Kranz that $300,000 could be put to use, ensuring that we can complete some of these capital projects which are going to come in over budget.
Could I say one more thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
Absolutely.
So, couple things. Number one, about your Essen log cabin, I did offer, last time I spoke with you, we were out at the Amber job. There is a way to save money on the Essen log cabin where you, instead of using first off, the logs are not all from the Essen log cabin. There are multiple logs that are being borrowed from another antique log cabin already. Multiple. At least 20 or 30 of them are completely not part of the Essen log cabin. So what you were saying we were gonna do, everybody's gonna do that because you have.
No, that's not what I said. What I said was, you probably have folks that have a lot of experience with new oak logs or new pine logs or whatever, shipped in and constructing a beautiful replica of a log cabin. This is not the same thing.
Yeah, no, these guys have.
Whether these are old.
Right, regardless, I don't, my guys have built older log cabins reconstructed. They have. So I wasn't asked that question. Number two, I did offer that if you just get the stone from Old Castle because the stone is just a facade on the side of this building. You're pouring a concrete foundation and you're building the log cabin on a new concrete foundation. And the stone on the side of that building is just a facade, okay? It's a veneer stone. And the stone that was offered to us to use, which is over off of Hart Road that I live on, I was looking at it. It's not, one of the main costs of that is that stone is all misshapen. It's not made to be a veneer. It's made to be a stone footing. So I mentioned to Joe, you can save about $20,000 if you just put a stone veneer on the footing that you're already doing. You're
That's what
basically,
we were doing.
What he's saying is use a
so you have to
manufactured
cut it off.
stone versus.
Oh, use the
using-
fake stuff instead of a
Not
slice.
fake. No, it's still stone. It's still stone. It's just, you would have to cut all that stone.
Yes,
That's the big cost. You gotta bring that, cause it's big.
Mason has to cut the stone.
Yeah, we don't wanna do that. I would.
So you could save, I already offered that, just so we're aware. And then the only other thing I'm gonna say is, well, I'm gonna say two things. If we're talking about a tight budget and we're talking about everything and you're saying $5,000 doesn't matter, it seems to me like you guys are all talking about a tight budget, but I was low. So I'm cheaper than that guy. And I'm already offering a $20,000 deduct, number one. Number two, I'm gonna end with this, just so you guys know, it has nothing to do with the Essen Log Cabin. Your budget on your pickleball court, I built pickleball courts. That's one thing that I do know. I built St. Louis County 4 pickleball courts in Tillis Park, along with the tennis courts that Aaron Owens and everybody at St. Louis County is absolutely thrilled with and up and running now. I built 2 pickleball courts for the city of Chesterfield. I did both those pickleball courts with a retaining wall all the way around them and a parking lot right next to them. The cost was $387,000. I did 2 pickleball courts for Jim Coleman, who used to own these buildings right here in his backyard. I built those pickleball courts. All of them are post-tension pickleball courts that are the top of the line that you can get. And I don't know who's giving you your budgets, but if you guys want a good budget on a pickleball court, you ought to call me.
Our budget's tight. Those pickleball courts are,
I build them,
Another discussion.
that's actually a big specialty of my company is sports fields, sports turf, all that stuff is, I have a whole division that does that and that's all we do on that side. And I'm just letting you guys know, there's multiple options that you can look at to get your budget down if you want to look at it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was just gonna say, I think we've got the motion on the floor to table this to next month, right? I think my personal opinion would give Tom a little bit more time to dig into the budget to see what options are available, because I think it sounds, just from what I've been hearing, the committee's torn at the very least on whether we should do this at all, and then how we're gonna pay for it if we're gonna do it. I think it would give the city administrator some time to look into that budget. The other thing, I'll just say my 2 cents on regarding the proposals and the bids. I totally respect the department's recommendation, and I know they do great due diligence and look into these things and hard. I think part of this has to do with the frustration that we're feeling with Village Green that we've talked about already at length today. And I think we've also talked about the fact that there's numerous different components that are involved in the frustrations we're feeling with Village Green. And so I don't really feel it's necessarily fair to make that a determining factor on who we're gonna go with. And I think in my world, from a business partnership perspective, is, it's a partnership. We're in a partnership with Bombshell Construction right now to build Village Green. And I consider Essen Log Cabin as part of Village Green because it's gonna be there. We're all talking about it as part of, if we're gonna build it, it's gonna be part of Village Green. So to me, it doesn't make sense for multiple reasons, from a partnership perspective, to bring in a whole nother separate contractor to build this one component of a project that we've already awarded. And they saved us over $100,000 in the initial bid of working with them versus the other contractors involved. So we've already saved significantly there. So I wouldn't support using a separate contractor. That was the recommendation. And then secondly, I also think that it's another complicating factor to bring in another contractor and throw them all in the same pit and expect things to go even smoother, let alone more problems. And I think if which I'm sure that you would be happy to do, but I think if Bombshell was able to give us a guarantee, Joe, that there would be a separate project manager managing the Essen log cabin versus or at least somebody that would be in charge of the Essen log cabin versus somebody that's in charge of keeping things moving with Village Green. So we've got dual layers of accountability. So it's not, if we want to treat it that way, because like I said, in my world, I feel like it's all just part of the one big project. And if we were going to do it, we probably should have just bid it all out together when we were doing Village Green. So that's just my 2 cents. I know it's a complicated subject now. There's differing opinions, and I feel like we're kind of all over the place here already on this, but does anybody else have anything to say?
Yeah,
Go ahead, Rob.
very quickly. The Historic Preservation Commission did a ton of work on figuring out how to do this as an actual reconstruction of a period log cabin, recognizing that they weren't all logs from that actual cabin, but they were local logs and they would fit in and so on and so forth. And then we got sticker shock with the initial cost estimates and decided, okay, well, maybe we don't really need to restore the roof to 1800s glory. We'll just do, we'll do the best facsimile that we can, et cetera, et cetera. I think the stone suggestion is a good one, as long as it's natural stone, because nobody's gonna be looking underneath it anyway, and it'll look just like a log cabin. That's a good way to save money, but we're still $360,000 if you can save us 20 grand. If we save another 5 grand by going with them, that's okay. I'm still, I would like the department to do more, if we move forward, to talk to Bombshell about the actual experience and the folks that are gonna be working on this, because it's a big deal. And it's not the same thing as typical carpentry. I mean, I got carpenters all through my family. And so it's a legitimate concern.
It absolutely is.
Yeah, and so, I was gonna offer up the Pertner Park portion of our budget, because in this climate, it's unlikely that we're gonna get that thing, done anytime soon. And that's some potential savings, but I do want to say that, Heaven, every park that we talk about, every project that we talk about community involvement and selling people benches and selling people pathways and selling people this and that and plaques to hang on the trees and whatnot. I don't know that the department has enough time to chase those kinds of funds. It just seems like a logistical nightmare for a very, very skeleton crew of a department to be doing that kind of work. And so I'm not sure we can hang our hat on any significant
Don't we have a
community
new
involvement.
communications manager that knows how to write really good articles that could perhaps involve the community in a little bit more detail to be able to garner? I've got residents that are asking me, what can we contribute to the city? Give me some details on some things that we could do. And so.
Well, I wasn't done, but all I'll say is,
Continue on. I'm sorry.
there's probably $1 million worth of park projects that I know about right now today that would take, that would, we need funding for. 380 grand for the cabin, a bunch of money for Pertner Park, a bunch of money for, there's all kinds of projects. I just don't know that it's feasible to try to significantly fund one of these significant projects. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Councilmember Hutchins?
Yeah, if we could probably raise a lot of money if we wait until Celebrate Wildwood. And, in different spots, put signs or whatever, in a container or whatever. I mean, with as many people come to, Celebrate Wildwood, I'm sure we'd get a substantial amount of money for donations. But that wouldn't be much of additional work on the department. And I think involving community is really important. I mean, that's one of our mantras is invite the community to participate. And, the community is gonna own Village Green. They're gonna own the cabinet when it gets up there. So, I think involving the community is important if we don't have the money right away. But we can raise the money from the community and then we could still pull money out of our budget that Tom could find. I really think that's the best way to go.
Councilmember Rattenberg?
Yeah, I'd like to call for a vote on Mr. Mabry's motion.
Yeah.
call the question here, because I think it's premature for us to try to formulate a strategy for how we might potentially fund the Essen Log Cabin until we get a better determination from Tom,
Yep.
what may or may not be available from
I
the
agree.
budget.
City Administrator Lee, do you think postponement to next month is enough time to look at that, or would you like us to give you more time?
We could have, with the postponement to next month, we could have some options available to us.
It would be long enough to be able to see, like Director Vunich was talking about with the J-turns and some of these other things that.
Yeah,
There
the
might-
only thing that's kind of, there's two items that are pushing in my mind that is making kind of that, making it fuzzy is one, we are meeting with Ameren tomorrow. This is not necessarily Parks and Planning related, but we are meeting with Ameren tomorrow. What we're waiting for is just a donation document to be fine, like Ameren to confirm that they donated the land, which they already have. That's the only thing that's holding us up from getting right-of-way clearance from MoDOT. Once that's done, we'll have 109BA out. We can expect that to take anywhere between 3 to 4 weeks for bidding. So that is the timeline we're thinking there. I'm hoping we can get that final document from them though this week, so then we could have it bid hopefully next week. All of our information's our ducks in a row to get it out the door. That said, if that number hasn't come in, if we don't have bids on the 109BA, that is going to kind of hang over any decision we might want to make. On top of that, the only other thing, and this is probably a 2026 expense, but just want to bring it up for just, just for reference. We do have a little bit of a deeper analysis that's going to take place for the building. We have about $100,000 set aside this year for capital. About 20,000-ish of that, I'm assuming, is going to probably go to legal to be able to look into some of the issues, see if there is some liability. If we find that there is, that's great. Then we can probably recoup some of those funds that are going to potentially have to be spent. But I am anticipating quite a large expense coming down the pipeline for restructuring the rain garden. And if we were to have to do something with the foundation, that we're talking very, very expensive repairs that could come down the pipe. So those are the two that we're not going to have the solid numbers on those. That's more of a 2026 discussion, but just wanted to bring up two things that are kind of ringing in the back of my mind.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so the motion on the floor then that we've discussed is that we're gonna postpone this till at least next month, which at that point we can see what the city has for us regarding information on the budget. And, if we need to push it out another 30 days at that point, we can always have that conversation then. So, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right.
Sorry, you're still not out.
All
Thank you
right.
for your patience.
Thank you
guys.
very much for your participation.
Thank you.
And coming here
I
tonight.
appreciate you listening to me, and I am serious about the Village Green. I'm hoping to get it going a lot faster, but if you guys wanna have a meeting, if you all wanna talk to me and find out what's going on at any time, and you're not getting enough from Ken and Joe and everybody, I'm happy to sit down with everybody and explain.
Appreciate that.
Oh, we get enough from Joe.
I know.
Very quick.
I think he does a great job.
What's the process, or is there a process for getting another bid on the pickleball stuff if we decide to go forward? Because,
We don't have a.
oh, we don't have, okay.
It sounds like a budget that you got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't have any money.
Who gave it to you?
We're gonna give our police a raise this year.
When
So they might-
the original estimate was from the bidding process we did
I
for
see.
community
Okay.
park, and that was right at $400,000.
Uh-huh.
When we were doing the mixed-use development over at Taylor Road and Main Street, and the pickleball courts were added as part of that, Arco Construction, which is doing the project for the multiple family, went ahead and did an estimate for Mr. Combs for the pickleball courts.
So this is a
That's
swag and it's not a sharp pencil.
And so that was the $500,000. And at the last meeting in March, you all asked for maybe just a relook. And just in that year's time, it's gone up $78,000. And that includes the best guess on that short stretch of overhead electric line that needs to be relocated.
Well, just for future reference, just so you guys understand, a 2 pickleball court setup. The post-tension slab with the topping mix and all the nets and everything, just the slab, you're looking at about $285,000.
We
This is
have
bigger.
4.
This
You
is
got
bigger.
4 of
Yeah.
them? If you have 4, you don't double it. So it depends on how much further you wanna go out. You can actually save yourself a lot of money if you break it up into two different pieces, and they know that they have 2 post-tension slabs, and then they put a sidewalk in between them. You can save a lot of money there. There's a lot of tricks to pickleball courts and tennis courts.
I didn't
The
want to start another.
post-tensioning is what is crazy expensive. You can save it, I mean, I'm just gonna tell you, like Hillsborough, other places, they don't have the money for the post-tensioning, and they'll build the whole park out, and they'll just pave it for now with asphalt, save themselves hundreds of thousands of dollars. Wait till a later date when they have the money saved up for the post-tensioning slabs, and they'll go back in and put in post-tension slabs. I'm just telling you, that's an option.
Hillsborough, they just do a 2-inch overlay.
Yeah, they do, that's true.
Thank you.
Sometimes
Thank you very
they'll do
much,
it.
guys.
Thank
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah. Thank you.
Have a good evening.
You too, thank you.
7:20.
I know, you guys are killing me.
So there are a couple of items we would like to discuss. I think the rest of the agenda could wait till May.
Okay.
The first is the wall that heals, and then the other is the vehicle purchase. And I only say the vehicle purchase, I know it's spending funds, but
It's a nice, I rented one when I was in Florida. They're really nice.
driving a 19-year-old van
Yeah.
still, and
Yeah, I
so,
thought you'd replace
They're
that.
nice cars. You'll enjoy it.
so if we could do those two, that would be great.
Yeah, let's go ahead then and, do we need a motion to amend the agenda to push everything out to May except for the new vehicle? Deal in the Walnut Hill. Is everybody okay? We have motion, Councilmember Mabry, Councilmember Scott, next. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you,
Any
members.
abstentions? Okay, so let's go to the Walnut Hills.
You were just tired of talking. Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. As you are very familiar, we've had quite a few discussions about the Wall that Heals. It's a 3/4 replica of the memorial in DC. And the city began its efforts to bring the Wall that Heals in 2021. And went out to go visit the wall while it was here in Warrenton, and had planned on bringing it in. But were advised that to like hold off until 2024, 2025, just to give some breathing room between the 2 visits. And so we did, and we plan to move forward with it in 2024, 2025. But through a lot of discussion, determined that the best location for it was probably going to be our Village Green, because it had great sight, great accessibility, it would bring people into town center. Maybe they could stop and get lunch while they're here and such. It would also be a relatively like tranquil area surrounded by residential area. And so that was kind of the planning process that we began. And so the application opens up in May, and the city started looking into applying for it to come in 2026 as planned. Well, as planned, after we realized the Village Green may or may not be done this year. And so that was part of the problem. And so with the Wall that Heals, when they bring it to the city, you don't really get a choice in when. You can kind of request a time period, but it's really up to them, just depending on what their schedule for touring the country is, and not knowing when the park would be done. Delayed it till 2026. So we're getting ready to apply for this, and we've had a couple of new developments since. One being that we have a really big all-inclusive playground going in over at Village Green in 2026. And it may or may not be done at that point in time, but it also might prevent, a wall that size. I think it's 385 feet or something, a wall of that 375, a wall of that magnitude fitting in the park any longer. And not only that, but when you put a playground next to it, it kind of loses the serenity, the somber moment when you have children playing next door.
Couldn't put it in the green?
Pardon?
Couldn't put it in the green?
No, it would not fit in the oval. It would have to go along outside it. and it's pretty substantial. So we have that development, and so that, brings about where would be another appropriate location for it, and we've discussed community park, but there's also the possibility that, weather might be problematic just because it might get soggy down there, and we don't really want the wall to sink, because that would be bad. And parking could be a challenge. So, we could look into partnering with, one of the schools or maybe the community college. They have land to the south of there for that. And so we started running through potential ideas. There have been other schools, like in other cities, that have like lent the football field or whatever if it happened to be over the summer. And so there's a possibility of a partnership, but then we came across a slightly bigger problem. And so it is bittersweet. So on the 2026 or the 2025 schedule for this year, it appears that it is going to be on display here in St. Louis, under St. Louis County from July 24th to July 27th at Jefferson Barracks. So, I mean, it couldn't be a better place for it.
Yeah.
And it's probably gonna be quite a display, and it's gonna be lovely. I look forward to seeing it if I can make it out there. But that being said, that then puts it in Warrenton, and then a couple years later in Jefferson Barracks, and then we would be following that presentation. And we have to find a location. So it's put a few kinks in it, and so it's something that they probably wouldn't approve for next year, maybe not even the year after, And so at this point, in light of these circumstances, the department is seeking direction from the committee, how to proceed. Is this something that we want to just table for now? Is this something that we want to move forward with? Because if we get our name in the hat, then even if we're not approved next year, then we could potentially be approved over another city if they put their name in the hat. Or, is Jefferson Barracks something that we want to follow up? It's going to be hard to surpass that, I would imagine. And so that being said, tonight the department is seeking direction. Do we want to move forward with this? Do we want to put our name in the hat, or is this something that we'd like to?
I'm gonna make a motion that we put it on hold. It's a great thought. It seems like it'd be duplication. They wouldn't consider our application anyway at this point. So I'll make a motion to put it on hold.
Second. We got a motion and a second to put on hold. Any discussion on the motion? Councilman Dodwell?
I was gonna say we wait until 2030.
It needs to be out of.
Might not be right.
2030, and we see if we can't get it back in Village Green then, and put the application in now, and then they've got plenty of time to plan for us.
Okay, I don't know
We
if
wouldn't put the application in now.
They won't put it into like 2029 or 20 years.
right, but yeah, and again, that's the problem. I'll reach out to them and see how to
do
go
we-
about that.
Yeah,
Because if somebody else applies for it between now and then,
Yeah.
and I mean, they might let them go in 2028, or something, but I'll reach out to them and see if there's a way to think about that then and get our name on the list for that time.
I
Yeah, just
can't
let them
imagine
plan
the
accordingly, but
city of St.
Say we
Louis.
want to take 2030.
right, I mean, I feel like it's hard to plan that far out anyway.
Right.
And so I don't know how
Councilmember
they,
McCutcheon?
well, for them.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good idea to put it on hold too, but my other suggestion is so that we would have something permanent, like some of the other cities. Maybe we, instead of inviting that in, we could use the funding and make a monument for the city of Wildwood
That was.
veterans. I mean, that would be permanent.
That was gonna be, the department's next suggestion is that, we had also discussed the Hall of Heroes and, maybe focus on that. And then when that's done, focus on a permanent, memorial or something along those lines. I mean, there's so many other ways that we can honor our veterans, and that's also something that we can look into. But yeah, I don't think that we need to completely dismiss, veterans projects. It just maybe focus them someplace else for now.
All right. Well, great discussion. I couldn't agree more. I think it's good. Planning. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Awesome. Thank you very much, Ms. Ripto. And that brings us to the last item on the agenda then left for tonight, which is the new vehicle purchase.
Mr. Chair, we'll keep you in the loop about the wall being down at Jefferson Barracks. So that when it's there, if you want to go visit, I'll certainly know.
I'll put in a plug for it. I saw it a few years ago. Well, I was a blubbering fool at the real one in DC, but this one was pretty dramatic as well. It was at Creve Coeur Lake probably 15 years ago or so. So it's worth seeing.
Keep you in the loop.
Very good. Okay, we've got the new vehicle purchase.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee.
It's the best it's ever looked.
Did you buy it already?
You did take quite the photograph, I will say. I mean, she's
Did you
sparkling.
go out and clean it up before the picture was taken?
You just killed that argument, thanks.
That looks great.
I know. You need one.
He's got at least 100,000 miles left on it.
Yeah, she's been around. So this is Vanna White, as the Parks Department likes to call her. And she has been quite the trooper. It's a 2005 Dodge Caravan, and she has been through field trips, a range of events, and so many other activities, and she has covered together. But since the middle of 2023, it's been getting a little bit expensive to maintain. And you know, the cost of repairs is getting up there, and there's maybe us holding it together. She's been well loved, that's for sure. And so the department has been looking into getting another vehicle and has attached a budget from the capital improvement program for 2025. And the city council set aside $35,000 for a new van for the department.
Melanie, the capital improvement sales tax fund had 40,000 set aside for a van.
Oh,
I apologize.
Get those fun warmers.
well,
my
that's
mistake.
great news. That,
Are you trading,
Tom.
are you trading this in? Or are you getting a second vehicle?
I,
What are you taking offers on it?
did you want to put in an offer? We can start the bidding here tonight.
You need one for your business?
I just raffle it to citizens and see.
There's an internet sales service we use. We sold the old trailer.
So you're getting rid of this one?
That is usually the typical process.
Okay,
but
they're great vans, as I said. I'll make a motion for it. Save you some time.
All right, do we have a second for that motion? Councilmember McCutcheon? All right, any discussion on the motion? Neighbors?
What ordained that this, or that what this is the one chosen, a Voyager 2025 Chrysler Voyager vehicle? What settled everyone on that? Despite the fact that it's a great vehicle.
Well, I mean, that's the primary reason for one. For two, it is actually really hard to find vans, especially vans that are American made. And the van is important for for everything that we do when it comes to the Parks Department. We put a lot in it that can't go in a truck, and an SUV doesn't, you just don't have the capacity. And so a van was important. But as to the type of van, I think that we also looked at the Chrysler Pacifica. And that was over the prices that you see here as far as the.
I'm really trying to get at what was the triage process? Did we bring in professionals? Did we go through consumer reports? What got a mirror image copy of what we had before? Just because what we had before was perfect.
I think part of it was just narrowing it down to American made and available vans. And so that narrowed the pool down
Available
quite a
price.
bit.
Features.
Yes. And so then you have the Chrysler Pacifica and the vehicle that you see. So,
and Mr. Mayberry, the van's lasted 20 years.
yeah, it's a good vehicle. And so replacing it.
We thought,
If the priority was on American made, then you're right, the selection is constrained. I did an awful lot of research and a Korean brand just cleaned the clock of all competition, but it was not a perfect 15 or whatever year old American-made van that we chose. It was a SUV. So that's an apples to oranges.
SUVs are plentiful. Finding a van is more challenging.
Very good, thank you.
All right, any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, please say aye. Abstains, any objections?
Thank
Right.
you.
Good deal.
What color is it gonna be?
It's gonna be white again.
Another van of white.
Yes. I
You
mean,
can
it's
care
gonna
for
be a van of white
You'll
too.
like it. They're a nice car. It's like,
All right, well, in light of all of the extended conversations we've had, which were all great tonight, thanks for all the participation from everybody. I think it was good conversation and discussion and helpful. Thank you, Mr. Director Vidic, for helping us amend the agenda further. Still, we're 5 minutes behind original schedule, but we're still good. Councilmember,
Yeah,
Bramlett.
if you, I anticipated your asking for miscellaneous. Is that your the next thing adding now?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I desperately would like to see us do more to solicit funding for projects and so forth from the populace. I think it's a good thing. People buy into it. They generally would tend to watch out for things, better and so on and so forth. But, we have tried in the past, even at Celebrate Wildwood and other events, like the Historic Preservation Society tent and the city tent. We try to sell these books and nobody even buys the dang history books and they're actually getting something in return. So I would like us to brainstorm maybe for a minute on the feasibility or what's the appropriate way to ask for some sort of a feasibility opinion from, I guess it would come from Tom directly, how we might go about establishing a program or programs on the website at city events, so on and so forth, to solicit donations from people. I don't think we're gonna get anywhere near.
well, here's what you do. You go to Deerberg's, you talk to their general manager, you go to Schnucks, you go to your top businesses, and just ask for donations. You gotta get some volunteers together and see how much they're gonna donate. You might get $25,000. Anything is good, but go to your big businesses. That's where I'd start.
Well, I mean, that makes perfect sense, but
Yeah.
it's still not, that's not.
But you do it through the website, the historical preservation, if you got those volunteers. And you advertise it, farmer's market, it's, you can make it a community volunteer thing and somebody can organize it,
But
but.
who does it? That's what I wanted
I
to
can
talk
do
about.
it. I can I can go visit these businesses. I mean,
I'll make a motion that
Jim Krantz.
takes on the task.
Take care of fundraising.
I'll go to Deerberg's and I'll go to Schnucks.
Well, I wasn't suggesting
I'll go
that.
to Dollar's
I'm more
store.
suggesting write the plan.
Yeah.
We need to write up.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea to come up with a plan.
Yeah.
I think it's something that, we could start putting some thought into perhaps on, with this committee. With your thoughts.
Grants, we want 200 grand in
We
committed
can
funds.
do
for
a
the next
beer
meeting.
bash or something.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm gonna ask a question of the city manager who has experience in fundraising for other situations, whether he has anybody on staff or whether he has a method that he might recommend to this committee to use to discuss around how we gain funding from our citizens. So
Yeah, if you, with your permission, Chair.
Yeah.
So I guess I could provide a couple ideas. Well, in that case, I think it would be a coordination between the Parks Planning Department and then our communications manager and myself. Would be kind of the point people on that project. But what I was almost thinking, just as we were talking here, and a method that, you've seen it in consumer life yourselves, but maybe there's something where we could tie in, and this is going to take some technical know-how. We're going to have to discuss it with our website design, our website hosting company. And also we're going to have to get the PSI compliance side down. But maybe it's something where if you're a resident and you're applying or registering for one of our events, that it asks you, it prompts the resident at that point of sale to say, hey, would you, since they're using one of our park events, it maybe asks them, hey, would you like to donate $5, $1 to $5 towards your local parks? It'll go towards just parks, and we would be able to create, we could legally create a fund where that money would funnel into, and then it could be used for very specific purposes. We'd have to have the city attorney define those, but it would almost allow the individuals that are getting the most out of our marketing, I mean, out of our, sorry, getting the most out of our Parks and Rec programs to be able to give back. There also maybe are opportunities even with the programs that we offer, you know, for like senior yoga. I mean, I know that one might get a little bit more tricky because we get funding for that from the county. That said, you know, they're not paying the full price, but maybe they just like the event and they do have some money to spare, and it's not asking them for $1,000 or anything along those lines. So those small dollar donations could add up. That's one component, and also it target the market that's actually engaged with our recs, Parks and Recs department in general. The other side of it is, I just want to bring this up, and Joe could probably speak to this a little bit too, is that the majority of our fundraising, we kind of, when it comes to the business community, we almost kind of max out what we ask for Celebrate Wildwood. And that really does leave us it leaves us very little room for being able to kind of go back, you know, time and time again. I know that that's always been kind of the, you know, we don't want to we don't want to have our goal for Celebrate Wildwood. Now it's been moved up 35,000, I believe it's this year, that we want in donations. You know, so in that case, you know, us ramping that goal up, last year we met it, and I just want to say great job to our Parks Department, Planning Department for that. They did an excellent job. That said, with it going up this year, now we're asking for more. It is our 30th anniversary, which gives us a little confidence, but that is kind of the place for businesses where we really are asking for the most of their money. But I think what you have to do, and this is where you got to get the city attorney involved to line it up, but maybe some of our events right now, Music on Main, and this is a discussion that's going to probably need to be fleshed out, but our Music on Main events, they're not sponsored by anyone other than the city. Our logo is the only one running that event. I guarantee you could probably get some business interest in there to say, hey, I'd like to sponsor the Music on Main, but they'd want their name on the banner. They'd want it, you know, front and center. And maybe what that does is that helps pay for those events, which then money is fungible. And in that case, that would free up additional dollars to be spent on these separate programs or building Essen Log Cabin, things along those lines. So there are a couple ideas, but I'm more than happy to have the department kind of start coordinating, and a lot of it could be just based off what we've been doing successfully for our Celebrate Wildwood events. But I think it's a combo of two different things. For the business community, I think you have to offer something. You have to offer visibility, which is key. And then for the consumer base, I think it's more so getting the individuals that utilize our services so much. We could put it in the Gazette as well and get those natural, you know, people that are just reading our content. But I think you got to almost get them at the point of sale. They're already spending, let's just say $55 to register for the event. That said, they're like, okay, I will spend the extra $5 because I want to keep seeing these types of programs created, and making sure that we make the promise to the residents that, hey, if you're donating money, it is going towards these extracurriculars, and it's going towards making, you know, these events more attainable for everyone.
Yeah, Councilor Rambo.
Thank you, Tom. That's what we pay you for. That was a great summary of the options. Do we need a motion for that study to commence, or are you just going to take it on and do it? Tom, I'm talking to you. I'm sorry.
If you all are comfortable, I mean, I guess let's get a motion to put it on the dock, if you all don't mind.
I move that we add to the department's labor burden and ask them to get with Tom and the other appropriate folks to figure this out.
All right, we got a motion. We got a second. Councilor Rottenberg. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, good job. No, I think it's a great idea. And I think so many different festivals and everything always have some corporate sponsor attached to
Yep,
it, so
We
I think
should.
we're shooting ourselves in the foot by not.
Yep.
The city doesn't really need to sponsor its own music festival. We might as well have somebody else cover that cost. Get Ameren to do it.
No, yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, Chair. Yeah, you're Ameren very well. I think they would be open to that idea.
Yeah, they do all kinds of stuff like
How
that.
about Bombshell?
And, yeah. That may be a quid pro.
A lot of these big local corporations, though, like Deerbergs, for instance, or Schnucks having locations here in the city.
Yeah.
I mean, they have a certain amount of millions that are allocated to that type of.
Yeah, they gotta-
Annually anyway, so it's just a matter of getting to them.
Corporate foundations.
You know?
And I will give credit to-
Schnucks do like McDonald's does and just like round up every time people buy stuff.
Or like
there.
at Petco, you,
And it goes to us.
$2 for the Humane Society every time you check out.
We could do
Well,
car
like I
washes.
said, this sounds sort of like a community relations activity more so than a parks and planning activity, because this is along the lines of their area of expertise to reach out to the businesses here in
I got a
town.
motion to dismiss.
I was
These
gonna-
people need to go
Is
home.
there any other miscellaneous?
I'll second.
All right, so well, first we got, next meeting is gonna be Tuesday, May 20th. Just mark your calendars. And we'll probably be having a new Parks and Planning Committee. This is probably the last meeting
Oh,
of this
yeah.
committee.
Oh,
Because we'll be.
Go out and celebrate her.
We'll be installing the new council members, right, at the meeting, and then the mayor will be assigning the new, so to all of you guys, it's been a pleasure serving with you guys on this committee. Hopefully some of us are back and continue the good work that we've been
Did they
doing.
cut our pay?
Yours.
Yeah, just yours.
Hey,
If you ask, they cut, right?
know.
So, no, but thank you very much. I appreciate everybody on here. It's so agreeable to work with and the discussions we've had and all this. So good to have and it's great working with a great department and, Dragunich and
Thanks.
do a great job. So it's always
Yeah.
a pleasure.
Thank you,
seeing
Joe.
What you guys
Thank you,
bring to the
Melanie.
table and all the thought that goes into it and the hard work. So keep it up.
Yep.
Thank you very much. And we've got a motion on the floor for adjournment for Councilmember Kranz, second by Councilmember Hochberg. Any discussion on the motion? Another 30 minutes, yeah. we talk about this. All right, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Hi.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, thank you.
all right.